Good morning. This is Steven. I'm sitting at my desk and I just got off the phone with an agent and they're thinking about terminating a contract. And it got me thinking, you know, because he didn't communicate this with me. He just sent over the termination. The expectation is we're not going to fix things when he didn't communicate. And not only is it good to communicate with the other agent and not to be scared of communicating with them, but not saying too much all the time to every agent if they don't need to know something. The same thing happened with some people in my life that have had clients, and I keep getting hearing about people that are just struggling with maybe saying too much to their clients, and without even knowing it, they communicated a higher expectation for the clients rather than what they needed to communicate, and that's a problem. Um, and Because if you over communicate, it ends up being an expectation when you're just trying to be nice and you want them. A lot of agents, what I see is they want their clients to feel like their opinion is valuable as an agent, which I understand that. You would want that, if you're trying to convince maybe a buyer to trust you, that kind of thing. But what I've learned about this is information is key, and communicating the process is so much better to help lead people than to try to promise them things or to forecast something that is a dream in the transaction. And so a lot of times what I do with people, especially buyers, is especially if they've never bought a home, or it's been a long time, or it's my first time out with them, they really liked a home and they want to move forward on it. I give them a structure of three sets of offers, and what happens is I take them through the transaction before they even have the transaction, and I lay out the process rather than what could happen, because I don't know what could happen. And when you start communicating what could happen, it scares them. And then when they go through it, they may end up, thinking that they'll remember because it was the first thing they ever learned from you. They're going to remember that, and then they're going to go, well, that didn't happen. Sometimes I'll over communicate expectations of company amenities. That has got me in a little bit of problems before, where where the client concierge program that we have is for a certain clientele, and I talk to them as if they've already qualified for the program, and they haven't. And then next thing you know, we're listing their house, and they're going, hey, how come I haven't got a call about utilities or moving companies or anybody, things like that. Um, so that's happened to me before. One of the things that I do in my listing presentation that I'm actually working on right now, excuse me, my nose is itching today, is to communicate at the listing table an example of how the house contract process goes, and I'll maybe give an example of a current contract that I have going on, or a current listing that's happening, especially to prepare them for things like days on market, how long it's going to take their house to sell, what happens when April comes out to do pictures and sign setup, all those things. And sometimes I can get ahead of myself, and I have to be careful of doing that, because then people expect things that they're not going to get. And then when they don't get them, it becomes a big deal, almost like I'm a liar. And so what I've done is, the point of today is, that I was just thinking about as I was getting off the phone, is just communicate your details. Just, your details, but then as undetailed as you can. So before every phone call, and every client that's under contract or I have something on the line for. So if I know that I'm calling a client, and I know that maybe I have a listing appointment that I'm trying to get, or a buyer appointment, whatever it is, before I call them, I go, okay, what do I not need to say? what am I going to want to say that I don't need to be saying? and it has been a wonder. And now I do it just kind of second nature, and it just happens. But I think that's a huge point, is before you make the phone call, say, what am I not supposed to be saying on the phone right now? What do I need to, what's the line that I cannot cross with this person? What kind of expectations is this person going to have? Are there somebody that, some people don't really have any expectations and don't care. They don't remember, and they'll just trust you for everything. But then there's a lot of people that don't trust you, and then everything you say becomes textbook. And then if it doesn't get met, you're in trouble. And then you're constantly getting bombarded with emails at like midnight or texts at like 10 o'clock, expecting things that you can't deliver because you accidentally laid out expectations for them that they can't meet, that you can't meet, and that they expect, and then they may fire you just because you did that. Now, I haven't been fired over that, but I do want to say that has been probably one of the biggest changes in my business this year, that I continue to hear when I talk to agents, or when I went to the mastermind class at Mike Mazik. An agent just came out and said, and as soon as they were talking about their situation, the one and only thing that I heard was, details are details, but you just didn't lead. For whatever reason, you didn't lead your client with expectations at the outset. And because of that, or maybe you set higher expectations before it went under contract, and because of that, here you sit with problems. And it's hard to hear that, because as an agent, we don't want to hear that. We want to know that we've done a good job. We want to know that people trust us, and we've had transactions like that before. But one thing that I keep telling another agent that's working closely with me right now is, you really need to I just lost my train of thought. You really need to lay out the expectations and limit the expectations as best that you can, and communicate that. And the only way that you can do that is, every transaction has its own set of problems and issues. They have their own personalities, and I say clients, they have their own personalities as well, and we have to be able to read that as agents. The better that we know the transaction, and the better that we know our people, the smoother the transaction, and the more we will like this business rather than dread it.